Now, I've had a lot of nicknames in my life. Delusional, Tubbo, Hey You, Punkins. Yeah, my mom calls me Punkins with an N, not an M. Don't know why. But having the name JD, I've been called plenty of different things too. Jack Daniels, which I think is silly, but one that stuck with me for a while was J-Dog. All that to say, there was a commenter named J-Dog who challenged me in my perspectives. They said, you know, you're really starting to go down the path of everyone else, covering the negative news of gaming when you used to just cover what you liked. And at first, I felt very defensive. At first, I was like, well, the news is kind of bummer right now. It's been silly and everybody's kind of right when it comes to the doom and gloom. But then I realized something. I am just falling in line with everybody else. And so in an effort to be different in this space, I want to make a video that is all about the positivity of it all. What I'm enjoying and why I choose to do the things or use the hardware I use. So today we're going through hardware. The hardware that I am enjoying, how I've seen increase in excitement in playing video games, and I want to share with you guys what all that is today. Now I'm going to do it kind of backwards. I'm going to cover from my least used to my most used, because I think that would be the most appropriate way to go about it. Today we are going to be brewing coffee in, yet again, the AeroPress, using my Bash Bros cup. Fun fact, Bash Bros the podcast will be coming back. I miss doing podcasting, and I want to do a podcast. So whether it's with my other Bash Bro or I solo it for some and keep them on for some others, Bash Bros will be coming back, hopefully this week. Continuing on. So the first thing I use the least, but I still use, and I used it yesterday at a fitness race I was at, is the Anbernic RG35XX Plus. Now, Anbernic just released their RG35XXSP, or I don't know exactly the call sign because it has a crazy call sign, but they just released the Game Boy SP version. So this is the first thing that I use, and I do use it. I do use it. I'm playing through a Pokemon Ruby run, and I'm enjoying my time on that. Now, I could easily emulate Pokemon Ruby over on my Steam Deck, but I don't because this is just small and compact. And like yesterday, for instance, when I was at my fitness race, I didn't want to bring my Steam Deck in my backpack because it was kind of cumbersome in totality. And so I decided to just bring this. And it was really cool. And I think that this thing right here is really great. So a pocketable emulation device. And something that's special about this, and about every single device I'm going to show you today, is it is a hybrid device. This has HDMI out and Bluetooth, so you can actually plug this into your TV and play your games on your TV with a controller, Bluetooth controller, which I've talked about Bluetooth controllers before. And we'll go over my favorite Bluetooth controller at the very, very end. The one that I have been using for absolutely everything and is now my number one go-to controller. Okay, continuing on to the next used thing. My PlayStation Portal. This right here, I believe, is, for me, one of the most underrated pieces of technology in the current lineup of things. I was not expecting to enjoy this as much as I do enjoy it. In fact, yesterday I was using it in bed after my fitness race because I was so exhausted, and I was playing through Hogwarts Legacy, a game where timing is kind of important, and I was having a blast. In fact, I was having so much fun that at first I was considering getting Hogwarts Legacy for my Steam Deck because I'm like, man, I want to be able to play through this game and I need the portability. And when I was thinking that, I was like, oh, wait a second. I have a PlayStation Portal and already own that game on my PlayStation 5. And even on top of that, I own, this is a DualSense controller. So you get all the extra functionality that you get with the DualSense controller, and that is a blast and a half. Oh my gosh, I couldn't have planned this better. I rolled a 4, which if you know, it goes amber, blue, green, smoke. Smoke is 4. My smoke cup broke. And so the one time I roll a 4, it's smoke. I just rolled a 4 again. Are you kidding me? 3. That's for green, which 80% of the time is green. That is so funny, dude. I can't believe that just happened. That is ridiculous. Cut a little bit on the table. It's fine. It's fine. It's just a little bit on the table. Today's coffee was going to be, I don't remember. It was in this one, I believe? Yes, so that is the El Salvador. We have an El Salvador today. Let that cool off and keep going. What is amazing about the Portal versus something like the Steam Deck with Keyaki for Deck is the DualSense support. What I also like about it is how seamlessly it runs between the two systems. So what I like is I can be playing this here and then go and turn on my TV and it's just mirroring it. It's literally playing it off of the PlayStation. So if I had my TV on, someone could be in my office while I'm upstairs playing and they'd be essentially just watching my gameplay. But that's not what's amazing. That's what you'd expect from streaming, right? What is amazing is how seamless it is when you want to switch over to your PlayStation 5. All I do is I turn on the controller and it automatically kicks you off of here. You're playing this on the controller. And then when I want to switch back over to here, I do the same thing. I turn this back on and connect it, turns off the controller, and I can play on this. This seamlessness between the two is actually faster and more user-friendly. I kid you not, to go between a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation Portal than it is to do the hybrid experience on something like a Steam Deck. Because 100% of the time, at least in my use case, when you turn on that controller, it works. Or vice versa. With the Steam Deck, I'd say maybe 60-70% of the time, I'm having to re-select the correct input, making sure that when I undock not anymore actually. Now it takes a little bit more effort because when I'm turning off or undocking the Steam Deck from my docked situation, my Bluetooth controller is still connected because I'm no longer using a 2.4 gigahertz connection. And so it is a Bluetooth one. So I would have to actually fully turn off the Bluetooth controller. So there's a little bit of additional work you have to do. It's not bad. It's just some extra steps, right? But the seamlessness between the two was very surprising. And so people, are split about the Portal, which I understand because I think that unfortunately the marketing was done pretty I wouldn't say it was bad marketing, but I think it was a little bit confusing. I think it would have been better if when they marketed the PlayStation Portal, they tried to market to a very specific demographic and use case. This is perfect for what I want to use it for. I intentionally purchased this for home use. I did not intentionally purchase this to take out and about around town. Its size and its design doesn't lend itself to the most portable experience with the thumbsticks where they are. I just wouldn't feel confident putting this in a bag, throwing it into my bag, and then letting it rumble around. This was always supposed to be an in-house thing because my PlayStation 5 is, again, in my office. And so I want that flexibility throughout the house. And my house has good enough internet. I don't use anything special. I just use my normal internet router that came with my internet package from my ISP. So there's no special tweaking I did to it. There's no ports I changed. Literally, this is out the box, out the box, out the box. Everything about it is out the box. So I really, really like this. When it comes to its use, I only use it with my PlayStation 5 games because I no longer purchase games on PlayStation. So anything that's still there, I do use. And I don't have PlayStation Plus Premium on a renewal. So some of the things that people seem to be disappointed in, like you can't play cloud games or cloud stream games on this right now, is fine for me because I don't even use the cloud streaming service. I didn't use it when I had Premium. I don't use it now, and I don't intend on using it moving forward because I'm not going to continue to have Premium because I'm about purchasing games that I own versus using streaming services as a personal choice. And so this guy right here gets plenty of use. Now, the next most used thing is my Switch. My Switch gets a good amount of use still. In fact, it's my primary gaming solution when I go to bed. Now, that doesn't mean that I use it the most because my library, though I have plenty of games that I have yet to play on my Switch that I have purchased, my library has pretty much seen the most attention I think I'm going to give it. That's not because of performance. It's not because of anything like that. It's because the library that I had purchased at the time that I was purchasing games was when my interests were just a little different. So some of the games that I own now, I'm not as excited to play on this as I was when I first got this machine, right? For instance, games like I've tried it a few times. I just don't love it. Skyward Sword. I was really excited to play Skyward Sword. I do have the Skyward Sword Joy-Cons on here. But I just don't find myself enjoying that game as much because of the type of mechanics that you do with the thumbsticks for slashing the sword around. For me, it becomes overly frustrating because I'm not used to it, and it's not a style that I prefer, and so it just doesn't get the gameplay. Metroid Prime Remaster, started playing it. I'm not a huge fan of those games, and so I find myself gravitating towards games that I own elsewhere on different devices that end up getting a little bit more of my attention. And again, I'm not purchasing more games for the Nintendo Switch. There's one more game that I am purchasing for the Nintendo Switch, and that will be Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, but that's the only game that I see myself purchasing again for this. Indie titles, I don't see myself purchasing for this, because this again is at the end of its life cycle, and even if we get confirmed backwards compatibility on the Super Switch, I still don't have any games I want to buy, because when it comes to my Nintendo Switch specifically, the games I will purchase will just be games that I find to be, that are first party and in cartridge form. That is important to me, because when it comes to all digital, same with PlayStation or Xbox even, which I don't own a machine to run Xbox specific games. If you consider PC gaming Xbox specific, then I do have a PC, but when it comes to games specifically, I would prefer to have my gaming library in digital form on a more versatile gaming library manager like Steam, which we'll get to the last thing here. Now, a couple things to note about the Nintendo Switch that I really, really enjoy is this has become kind of oddly enough, an emotional attachment device, which is kind of bizarre to say or admit. See, I struggle greatly, and when I say greatly, I mean almost every day, with different levels of anxiety. It is something that I've had since I was very little. Sometimes it's worse than others, and it is what it is. But my anxiety will trigger panic attacks. Panic attacks are things that are, for those of you who've ever had one before, pretty awful. And I don't know how, why, or what it is. Maybe it's because this is rooted in childhood or something like that. But when I have a panic attack, my Nintendo Switch is actually one of the few processes or few different things that I use to get myself out of the panic attack, along with prayer, as well as breathing exercises. This device, specifically a couple games on this device, will bring me out of a panic attack quicker, which is really interesting to me that is the case. I can have the same game, I've tried it, I can have the same game on other devices and it doesn't work. And for some reason, this device in and of itself has some sort of nostalgic feel to it, to where when I hold it and use it, there is a comfort and safety in it. And that allows me to come out of a panic attack. Super crazy and specific, and I have no clue where that's coming from, but it is. And it's become very, very evident that is the case, especially in this past year that my anxiety has been kind of crazy. But that being said, it's a very important piece of my gaming loadout because of how it has a special place in my heart. Not just because of it being Nintendo, but also because there is some therapy that comes from it, interestingly enough. And so this guy is played second most, and I still use it. I would say when it comes to my daily gaming, I would say that this gets used probably almost daily. 5 out of 7 days, right? This gets used probably 3 out of 7 days, and this gets used probably 1 to 2 out of 7 days. And that's a tough one because it depends on what I'm playing. Right now I'm going through Hogwarts Legacy on my own, and this is getting quite a bit. Now, I'm choosing not to go and grab my 3DS because my 3DS is being used, but specifically for one game. And that game could easily be emulated or played, anywhere, but it can be played on the Nintendo Switch. I'm just playing it on the 3DS right now because it is something that I wanted to play in 3D form. But here's the deal. The 3D doesn't have the hybrid gaming ability, which is, for me, the number one most important thing in my gaming moving forward. Hybrid gaming has become so powerful in how exciting it is and how fun it is to play video games for me, especially when I go from TV to handheld. And since handheld has been something that is absurdly important to me since the very beginning, my absolute favorite way to play is handheld. It's the very reason why I have something like this. being able to have the hybrid gaming solution is super, super rad, especially because with all of these devices, the hybrid experience is matched. That's what's huge about both of these, is playing a game on the PlayStation 5 versus this is very close to similar, because all this is doing is bringing over what the PlayStation 5 is doing. And so while it's not exactly the same, you're getting PlayStation 5-ish level graphics on a handheld device. Yes, it's streaming and there's limitations there, but you wouldn't be able to get something like that on a PSP if it was a native game. Sure, it can stream as well, but the native game itself wouldn't look the same. It would be down-res. In fact, I wouldn't be able to get the same performance from something like Final Fantasy VII Remake on this than on my most used device, which is my Steam Deck. The Steam Deck does get used the most now, but still, I can't deny that something like this, which has the streaming capability, is able to play my PlayStation 5 games better than if I was to repurchase them and use them on the Steam Deck. Now, if I was to repurchase those games and use it on the Steam Deck, I'd have flexibility of location fully. I'd be able to take them wherever I go, and I definitely have done that with some of my games, and I'm slowly trying to bring over some of my digital purchases here in a very, very financially responsible fashion, especially when it comes to finding sales or whatever. Some of my favorite games or games I haven't finished yet, I am bringing over to the Steam Deck for that flexibility, but games that I am able to match the graphical output. There are a few things that the Steam Deck does better than all three of these combined, and that is why it has become my #1 most used device out of all of them, and why I have tried the other two, the Legion Go and the Asus ROG Ally, why the Steam Deck has become the fixture here. It's not just because of the simplicity. There are a few other things that I really like about it. One is the comfort. I think that out of all of those devices, this has the most comfort because it is a unibody design. You don't have to worry about some of the issues you might find with the Lenovo Legion Go with the detachable handles or controllers or whatever you want to call them, potentially causing some sort of issue with connection or whatever like that because of that added breaking point. I don't know how you would say it. This is just one thing. Now, it's highly repairable, as people said online. It's easy to repair some of the thumbsticks if you get that drift or whatever like that. That's neither here nor there. I just like the unibody design. Less moving parts means less breaking parts. That's important to me. Another thing is it's relatively light. It is heavier than the Switch, and it is heavier than, I don't know if it's heavier than this. I think it is, but it is relatively light. And so that again lends itself to a really, really good gaming experience. Now I think the Lenovo Legion Go, not the Lenovo Legion Go, the Asus ROG Ally is lighter. I think this is middle of the pack. I could be wrong there, but this as it stands is just light and very, very comfortable. As far as the hybrid solution is concerned, it's very hybridable. It does it well, and it is intended to do it. So you're not really breaking anything by doing it that way. And so the simplicity in that's nice as well. With I use the Steam Deck dock. I did that because it gets firmware updates. That is by no means the best dock. I don't think it's the worst dock. I don't even know if there are better docks. It's just the one I went with. It gave me an extra power adapter, which is great, even though I don't use it. I use the Genki stuff, but it gave me an extra power adapter, and it's first party. Again, I'm a sucker for first party. After working for Apple for such a long time, they've ingrained in me that first party accessories and first party hardware should always be the answer. And so whether that's correct or false, I tend to do that when I can. I go first party across the board as much as possible. It's the very reason why I chose to still get a Portal, even though I can do Kiyaki for Deck on this, is because it's a first party device. And with that first party device, I have first party features such as DualSense, and that is, again, important to me, but that's neither here nor there. I haven't tried Kiyaki for Deck, gonna be honest with you. And while I was going to compare the two, how good are they? I may still do that. I'm just not interested in doing Kiyaki for Deck because these devices all have a very specific use case. I'm not looking, and I've mentioned this before, I'm not looking for a Swiss Army knife because Swiss Army knives do a lot of things okay. I'm looking for tools, specific tools for specific jobs that do one job very well. So that's why I do the things this way anyway. Getting back to the last couple things about the Steam Deck. One, I love the sales. They make it easy to buy games, but aside from the comfort of this thing, this performance-wise is way more impressive than I ever thought it was going to be. Plus, with a 90 hertz refresh rate as far as the display is concerned, and an OLED display, which is phenomenal, cutting that to 45 is such a wonderful gaming experience. More than 30, right? So you get a little bit more than 30, but not as much as 60 frames per second. That 45 middle ground is incredible. In fact, it's just fast enough to where you know it's not as smooth as 60, right? I mean, technically it's 15 frames slower, but locking games at 45 allows you to eke out performance, to get visuals on this that you just don't expect to get. And for me, that makes the gaming experience very immersive. I do indeed use that setting often, putting the frame rates locked at 45 with a 90 hertz for refresh rate, because it's really, really good and smooth. When it comes to the portability, how am I keeping this around? I take this everywhere I go. I have my TomTalk case, I have my grip case on there, and this makes its way into my bag everywhere I go. This also makes its way into my bag, and I slimmed down the way that I do my Nintendo Switch. I actually put the cards in here, and I did indeed ditch my on-the-go controller because there was no way that I realistically was using this guy. And so I no longer bring this everywhere I go. But I told you guys that there was going to be the controller that I use all the time, at all times, and I'll grab it right now. It's actually going to be two controllers. It is the 8BitDo Pro 2, and it is the SN30 Pro. These right here, I believe to be some of the greatest, most comfortable controllers I've ever used. This is not the most comfortable, but there's something so charming about using these two. Now, these two aren't the ones specifically I use. These are actually the ones I use, which are the exact same two controllers, except in purple, clear purple. These two 8BitDo sent to me last year at some point when they were doing promotions. And the reason why I use these two is because these are specifically attached and synced to my Steam Deck. These two are specifically attached and linked to my Nintendo Switch. Now, I don't think having two sets of these is realistic, but I am in a fortunate position. These two I did purchase, and then they sent me these two. So because I have two sets, I might as well use two sets, and it is fine and dandy. I would say that this is actually the most used controller when it comes to my gaming outside of the Nintendo Switch. Well, the Nintendo Switch, I still use this. I use this over the Pro controller. I love this controller. There are so many aspects of this controller that I like, and I am going to do a full breakdown of this controller as well as the other Ultimate controller and the two really, really cool aspects of these, using them with all of my devices so you guys can see how that all works this Sunday. So you guys are going to want to stick around to see that. As far as everything else is concerned, I hope that this was a more positive spin for all of you. And this is kind of the way that I want to go about it. I think that the negativity, there's plenty out there, and I got caught up in it because it seemed like that's what you were supposed to do. And hey, I'm learning through all this process. So let's continue forward getting excited about video games, because I certainly am. I'm going to finish my coffee, enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day too. Join us in our live streams. You'll always know where they are as long as you're in the Discord, because I announce them there. But as always, happy gaming.